Sprite Studio devlog number 2, Layers. If you missed the last devlog, which was also the first, I showed Sprite Studio, a graphic creation tool I'm working on, and I talked about what I want to do with it in the future. In this video, we're going to talk about layers. If you've used a digital art software before, you probably know what a layer is. But just in case, in my own words, I would say a layer is a container for modifications to a subject. If you're working with Photoshop or Illustrator, a layer is a container of modifications to the graphic you're working on. If you've ever used a game engine before, it may have layers, and in general, most of these kinds of software have layers. In the context of Sprite Studio and similar programs, layers are two things. Firstly, they contain modifications to your subject, as in individual pixels you've placed. But secondly, they are hierarchical. So each layer has a ranking, and the ranking determines whether a modification to the subject is actually visible. Sprite Studio now supports all of this. We can see our layers on this drop-down. We can make layers using the options menu up here. We can draw on a layer, and we can switch to the other layer. Sprite Studio also has support for rearranging layers as you would expect. And you can hide layers if you want to. Next, if we create another artboard and hover it, we see that it too has all the same layers, but this artboard's layers are blank. Layers are stored in the project, so when you create a new layer, each artboard has its own fresh copy of that layer. If you delete a layer from the entire project, it is deleted from every artboard. Now, all of what I've just described is Sprite Studio's visual layers. These visual layers work just like layers from anything else you've used before. But they're not the only kind of layer, as we also have non-visual layers, which are a little different. Non-visual layers are very similar to visual layers in terms of how you create and modify them. We can create a non-visual layer in a similar fashion to creating a visual layer. Just like visual layers, you can modify them with the same tools available to you when working on visual layers. The main thing you'll notice is that non-visual layers do not have the concept of rank or hierarchy. You can only see one non-visual layer at a time. The difference with non-visual layers is you decide what the data means. Non-visual layers will not appear in your final image, but will be able to be exported alongside images. I'll be showing this concept in more detail, but for now, non-visual layers are just another type of layer with some differences. I've worked on a lot of other things in Sprite Studio too. I'm going to rapid fire these. We have controls now. You can customize controls in this menu. You type the key you want to bind and you click Set. For mouse keys and keys that aren't letters, you type the name of the key. Your controls are saved, so when you relaunch the program, your controls are remembered. As you may have noticed, artboards now start with a checkered background representing transparency, which is different from how they were before. Before, they were just white. You can customize the size of the checkers of the background, and your chosen size will be remembered. And I worked on a lot of smaller things too, but I just don't feel like showing them. Next episode will be about animations and saving and loading projects. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's more coming soon, so feel free to subscribe for more. See you around.